And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
Welcome in, everybody. Got a big show tonight. Obviously, Trey Holly news is broke nationally. Started getting questions and emails and comments about it Saturday evening. A lot of people started to say, no, there's nothing to it, but it just kept festering and festering. And then, of course, we now know that he's got multiple felony charges, attempted murder, and it's a real mess. We'll talk about that. Baseball season at the box, 2 p.m. tomorrow. VMI and then Central Arkansas, 4 games in a row, Friday through Monday, 2 o'clock again on Monday. And we'll see what kind of crowds Jay Johnson gets for some 2 p.m. first pitches. But I know he's hoping that the weather isn't having them juggling some games. So we're going to talk about that. What is Trey Holly's being away from the program, likely for good? What does that mean to the running back room? And LSU women's basketball, we had Kim Mulkey today, going to A&M on Monday. And we'll talk about all that and a lot more. And welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike. I'm wearing the dark shirt tonight, obviously, for the victims with the shooting after the Kansas City Super Bowl win. And then this situation with Trey Holly, as always, Mike, and of course, the guys on the bulletin board. You know, we grew up in an era where, I guess I was never a fighter. I wanted to be a lover. I wasn't good at either one of them. But, in the old days, you go, and then you fight or whatever. Nowadays, it's like you get crosshaired and somebody pulls out a weapon. And it's so sad with this confrontation. It seems like when you go home, sometimes bad problems and bad people that you hang around with, nobody knows for sure. Sad. I've got a couple of out of the box tidbits on what I think will happen. Who could possibly fill in at running back? Baseball tomorrow at 2, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, 2 on Monday. Jay Johnson named Thatcher Hurd tomorrow and Luke Coleman from Alabama on Saturday. He could be the surprise of the staff early in the year. He's that good. We'll talk about the other 2 starters. Women's early bracket with the NCAA came out. NCAA had LSU as a 4 seed, ranked, I think, 14th. So right now, you asked a question a couple of weeks ago, gotta continue to win, and you want to host. And if you're a top 16 seed, you host first and second round. And, of course, men, good comeback after 20, lose the heartbreaker to Florida, on the road at Carolina on Saturday afternoon. And, of course, other tidbits on this Thursday. And Mike and I, obviously, with Valentine's, start a Lent yesterday and then Valentine's. So that's why we're here on a Thursday night, guys and girls. Absolutely. If you're enjoying the show, as always, please hit that like button. It really does help us with the YouTube algorithm. Also, share it out. Please post it if you enjoy the show. Share it on your Facebook wall, Instagram, your Twitter account, whatever. Text it to your buddies. Very much appreciate you guys spreading the word. We hit 27,000 YouTube subscribers today, which is 10,000 more at the same time last year. Insane. And so thanks to all of you for helping us grow this channel and loading lots of content up. Not only this show, but a lot of the press conferences. Had a Kendall Rogers segment earlier today. Check that out after you watch this one. Kendall was really good previewing the upcoming LSU baseball season, SEC, and we'll do that each and every week. But, of course, we're brought to you by Pride Roofing, and we'll talk more about Mike and Alex a little bit later in the show and what they got going on. Roger Ramjet says, hey, Mike and Buddy, always enjoy the show. Go Tigers. Fire 3449. Everyone hit the like button. Dane Bergeron, good evening, Mike and Buddy. I'll be at the box this weekend. Fire 3449. Mike, with Trey's problem, this makes the Harlan Berry and James Simon signing even more important going for. Absolutely, but I'll tell you this. I think they're going to try and get a running back in the portal because you've got 3 running backs now. You got Josh, you got Caleb Jackson and Caden Durham, who doesn't show up until June. So, look,
there was multiple times last year where you had a couple of running backs injured, dinged up. You don't want to go into a game where you've got one running back healthy. I think they need another running back. It's absolutely. So that'll be something else you need to add to the May transfer portal period.
Had 8 last year. We know very quickly it got pared down. I think you got to think out of the box. And here's where I'm going.
Harlem Berry. Are you going Harlem?
I mean, we're talking about next year. Malachi Lane is a walk-on that's been pretty darn good, and you're going to see him in the spring. He's a big back.
I meant Harold Perkins.
He's not Perkins. So he's my number 4 body. Number 5 running back, Aaron Anderson. You couldn't get him the ball, his feet, the timing, and all that. You remember Chiron Carey?
I knew you were going to say. I was about to say Chiron Carey.
You remember Chiron Carey? So I want to see Aaron Anderson. He's got a low center of gravity, very strong. And here's my kicker to make the 6-pack. We've seen Sage Ryan on defense 2 years. We saw Corey Webster 2 years and he moved. We saw Jack Hunt 2 years and he moved. Sage Ryan ought to get a look at running back because I think he's more elusive with the football than physically wanting to hit people. And if LSU doesn't have better DBs than Sage Ryan this year, I think it would be great for his attitude. Now, he may not want to play offense. The guy was awesome on offense at LCA, along with the return game. So that's my 3 to make 6. Malachi Lane, Aaron Anderson, and Sage Ryan, unless you don't get a running back in the portal.
Chance Babb and Mike enjoyed the show at Kendall. Is that going to be weekly? Yes, it will be weekly. I think we're going to settle on Wednesdays, but we'll see. It might fluctuate. That's a good thing about YouTube. You're not, locked into something, but I think we're going to shoot for Wednesdays, and that way we could talk about whatever Tuesday game they had, et cetera. But we'll figure that out. Spectrum Wellcare wants to know, why did Logan Diggs transfer? Well, don't forget he tore his knee up. So whatever Ole Miss is getting, is he even healthy by October? There was some issues there. A lot of it's conjecture, but I don't think it ended well. In fact, I know it didn't. But Armani Goodwin's gone, and so now all of a sudden with Trey Holly in this situation, I think they're gonna need another running back.
What you think of Anderson?
I like that idea, but I don't know that Anderson would.
Oh no, he didn't get a chance to get the ball in his hands. Look,
I think you need, if you can go get you a bona fide running back who's actually done it somewhere, that would be the preferred route. But if you can't get somebody, then yeah.
But this is what spring is for. You got to think outside the box, and I think obviously these guys. Sage Ryan, you agree? He's not the most physical DB. He probably would enjoy running away from people and coming up and hit people.
I'm not convinced that their DB troubles are going to be.
Well, no, I know, but let's just wait and see. Jawan Johnson's going to be better than a lot of these guys. So is Jordan Gilbert, and so is some of those other players.
I mean, that might help you with reps in the spring, like moving offensive linemen, but
no, offensive lineman to D tackle, that's not going to work.
Yeah. All right, Big Honus Killers. Good evening, Mike, Buddy, and fellow BFFs. Preston Guy, what's going on? BFFs, he's in there. Okay. Stephen Young, no running backs in the portal unless a stud enters. We got elite guys who can switch to running back. We'll see. My bet is that they will get one in the portal. Yeah, Carl the Cat Dunn. What happened to good old days of fighting with fists and getting it all out and shaking hands afterward? Everything involved around guns.
I'll tell you a quick story. Carl the Cat and I'm sitting at one of the baseball games, and Carl the Cat had Amanda Sausage Po' Boy, and Knucklehead came up and stole it. And I went up to Nuck and said, "What are you doing?" So Carl wanted to take a swing at him. Well, Nuck pushed him, and his Coke bottle glasses fell off. But that's all that happened. It was a bunch of yap. This is what's so sad about society. And I'm not going to get into any political gun stuff, but
it did force Carl the Cat to go back to the eye doctor because his glasses were broken. And he refereed his best graded game ever that next Friday night.
Paul Harvey, the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And he moved up 10 spots in Buddy's referee rankings in the local area from, 52 to 37?
Look, if there's 2 things that we could fix, please. not being so hot-headed and having violence with gun. And please, for the life of all of us, can we stop with all these suicides that are going on with people?
Kenny Haynes, of course, the unofficial attorney of TigerBait, and of course, the sponsor of our Kendall Rogers Batter Up segment video that we posted earlier today. And I talked to Kenny earlier about, look, if there's no plea deals or if there's no charges being lowered, and, what's the condition of someone in critical care, like and still in critical condition. What if that person doesn't make it? Then all of a sudden it's no longer attempted murder. But talking to Kenny earlier today, if the charges stay as is, it's a minimum of 10. It sounded to me, talking to Kenny, that it was a minimum of 20 years, because a lot of it, the way Kenny explained it to me, is that all the judge discretion on handing down sentences is that's all been removed by laws. So, but like Kenny said, we learn more, and it's just so unfortunate. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for that super chat, and as always, thank you for being a sponsor of all of everything we do here at TigerBait. Fire 3449, Preston's last show at Will Blackwell was good. Yes, it was. Check that out on the channel as well. And we had Kim Mulkey today. They're heading to Texas A&M, and like you said, they can't afford another loss. And I think they're already probably going to send a really solid number 2 to a regional in Baton Rouge. But I tell you what, the way they're playing, and she was asked a question today about starting Poa, and I knew the answer she was going to give was, starters don't matter. But we'll see how that plays out Monday night in College Station. So, any thoughts on this LSU baseball team? I look at the schedule, and have you looked at the SEC baseball schedule?
Holy cow. I memorized the first 5 weeks, folks. At Mississippi State, hosting Florida week 2, at Arkansas week 3. And they're due to win a damn natty with Dave Van Horn one of these years. Hosting Vandy, and then at the Fighting Tony Vitello's Tennessee. Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, Vandy, and Tennessee. 3 of the first 5.
Texas A&M here.
Road. Yeah, the last 5, Texas A&M here. 3 of the last 5 on the home series. But that is Murderer's Row. I had Ben McDonald on a couple days ago, Todd Walker today, and he was talking about Jay Johnson once again. Just don't forget how offensive they're going to be, even though they're replacing a lot of studs and a ton of pitchers. 10 lefties. You have a 40-man roster. That's 25% of the whole roster, left-handed pitchers. That was a few years ago. They didn't have any lefties. So we'll see. But expectations to get to Omaha, 30 games in the SEC, anywhere from 18, 19 to 20 wins. It will get you hosting regional and super regional, which is what everybody expects.
Yeah. Talking to Kendall today, I think D1 baseball, it goes Wake Forest, Florida, Arkansas, then LSU. Is that right? And he said that, look, you can interchange any one of the 3 SEC schools, but it does seem like everybody does have Wake Forest number 1. But I mean, what do you have? Like 9 teams from the SEC in the top 25, 7 in the top 10, or whatever it is. It's incredible. And like you said, LSU's got them all. But so what is the one-loss record of each of the top 3 teams in the SEC at the end of the year? It's going to be crazy. Dane Bergeron with a super chat. Buddy, help Preston out, please. He has no idea how great Joe Montana was. He thinks Majors is better. Or is he meaning Mahomes?
Yeah, he thinks Mahomes.
Mahomes.
I would rather not say anything. I did see that discussion, and I don't want to say anything derogatory about Preston or Blake or Skona or whatever. Any of these guys are in their 30s and early 40s, but It's a different era.
Well,
but Joe Montana was so good. Let's just say we're going to give Preston the clue game for Christmas on that one.
Look,
he don't have a clue.
Look, you don't discount him because he was in the West Coast offense and he had Jerry Rice. But look, there's a whole lot of guys that would benefit from today's offenses. The first one that comes to mind would be Troy Aikman. I mean, what might Troy Aikman have done in today's offense? And he's just one of many. Jim Kelly. What might Warren Moon have done in today's offenses? And it's not necessarily about who won Super Bowls. I mean, he had Drew Brees ahead of Joe Montana.
I think Montana was 4-0 in Super Bowls. That's pretty damn good.
Would you put Drew Brees ahead of Dan Marino? Does a Super Bowl matter that much?
No. I mean, look, Dan Marino was one of the greatest. But back to Montana and these guys that are winning Super Bowls, that is what you judge a lot of these quarterbacks on, how many rings they have. Joe Montana would light it up with all of the offensive skill and being able to dink and dunk. Now, he didn't have the biggest arm, but look, I don't want to get off the tangent, but everybody got an opinion. But I just think it's hard sometimes for the younger media people.
We have a lengthy thread on our message board. I kind of took Preston's tweets and said, what do y'all think? And let it fly. So
Google is your friend if you've never seen him play.
Yeah. Thank you for that super chat. Dane Kenny comes back in with a super chat and he says, Buddy, David Van Horn equals Mike Martin. No chances in Omaha.
Look,
he does have Mike Martin syndrome.
And of course, Mike Martin passed away, and it was a very classy guy. He may end up never winning. They were 1 out away from the fly ball on the first base line. But they're due. But I agree with you, Kenny, until you get there. And that's the beautiful thing, Mike. You've been to all these press conferences. I like this mindset. This team is not defending, but they are the reigning national champs. And we'll see if Travinsky and Milazzo can have the kind of leadership Skeens and Cruz had for this baseball team. But a lot of pitching, and you know there's going to be a bunch of home runs. By the way, LSU, 144 home runs last year and hit 308 as a team. ERA was about 4.5. Ben McDonald said every team in the SEC, in SEC play last year, had an ERA of 6. So once again, oh, by the way, strike zone is supposed to be a little wider than it was last year. Remember how tight it was last year? Everybody bitching. So
look, there's going to be some guys, obviously, you're going to say, boy, what position is your biggest concern? Is it first base?
No, they got plenty at first base. Jared Jones, Ethan Fry.
But I mean, I've been hearing he might be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, well, he swings and misses a lot, but when he hits it, it's out the park. Ethan Fry can play. Jake Brown can play. They got and look, Travinsky and those guys can play first.
So
base.
no issues infielders. Shortstop, second base, newcomers.
I think Josh Pearson at second base. They got the other kid, Stephen Malam, that's trying to get the. But and then Paxton Kling in center. Mac Bingham in left and Jake Brown in right, I think, is going to start.
I'm excited to see Brady Neal. I love Brady Neal.
Yeah, Brady Neal probably start catching, and Milazzo comes in late to frame those pitches. Travinsky hits the long ball. Going to be interesting, but they're going to play a lot of people. But right now, I think we just got to wait to see how they start.
Is this a deal too, where it's is this going to be one of the years where there's going to be a lot of tinkering?
Yeah,
where he's still tinkering well into the season.
Absolutely. I asked Jay last year, I said, do you want to have roles established by the SEC? He said, look, whenever it gets established, it was not established by the start of the SEC last year. LSU did not win the SEC, even the West. So Gage Jump not expected to pitch this week. Jay's not going to tell you that, but very similar to Thatcher Hurd. He was not ready last year to start, but I think Gage Jump is somebody that will be in the mix later on. Chase Shore is also coming back. Big 6'8" righty. He will come back at some point, and then we'll get into some of the other guys that might start this weekend later.
A lot of rumors that maybe Gage Jump might have re-aggravated or done something, but nothing. And it's not something I don't think Jay would talk about. No. But hopefully he's going to be okay because there's a lot of excitement about him.
Sure.
All right. Let's see what else we got. Brian Turner, Mahomes is probably top 5 right now, though. He's probably ahead of Drew right now. Unfortunately, it's Tom, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, Elway, Mahomes, 5, Drew and Rodgers.
Favre.
Yeah.
That's what, no, who was before Rodgers?
He had Drew Brees and Rodgers tied at 5th.
Yeah, I think it's like a beauty pageant. It just depends on what you're putting the most emphasis on. But look, 3 out of 5 Super Bowls in today's game, pretty darn special for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Travis Kelce got a little spicy, bumping Andy Reid. I thought Andy Reid, quite frankly, was very conservative running the football. Of course, when Pacheco fumbled it inside the red zone, inside the 10, that's when Kelce went ballistic and actually bumped him. And of course, Andy Reid, so cool. Man, could you imagine doing that to Belichick, Parcells, Saban, any of these other guys? You would have seen because you've seen Saban give ass chewings right there on the field before, players and coaches. But Andy Reid diffused the situation, and that's why those guys are so good. They let people overreact, and it was an overreaction. But I'd rather have that kind of guy than a guy that doesn't care if he plays or not.
Kenny Haynes says Jay has to cut the roster by 4 by tomorrow. You heard anything on who it might be?
I don't know the particular names, but all of that stuff usually happens, whether it be redshirt or injury related.
Yeah. And, it's typically guys that that aren't going to play, that he doesn't see is going to play. But I'm assuming he'll let us know who that is next week. So, all right, it's that time. It's Pride Roofing. I talked to Mike Faraday earlier this morning, and let's hear from him and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael.
I'm Alex.
At Pride Roofing, we handle commercial and residential work.
TPO, shingle, and metal inventory. We got it.
Property still in disarray from the recent hailstorms. Insurance claims?
No problem. But Pride Roofing is the official roofer at TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait, and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Call 855-PRIDE-16. Se habla Espanol.
All right, I talked to Mike Faraday earlier today, and they've got enough shingles in the yard to do 200 homes, and it's all high quality. They do all the flashing. If you had any of the hail damage, we had more of it in recent days in Ascension Parish. If you had any issues with hail damage, give Pride a call, 855-PRIDE-16. They mobilized all their crews to focus on the areas that were hit by hail damage weeks ago on the North Shore, and now Ascension got hit with it in the last few days. So give them a call. And, something else. There's some incentives now with the insurance rebates for fortified roofs that basically you can get a break on your insurance. Pride Roofing does fortified roofs, and that to me, it just makes absolute sense. And evidently there's some tax credits there. So call Pride and ask them about those as well. Anywhere in South Louisiana, nobody does it better than Pride Roofing. And if you say you heard about them on TigerBait, they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year.
Hey, it makes more sense than ever before. You get a free roofing inspection in Baton Rouge, 275-201. I'm sorry, what is it again? 275-2041. That's right. I'm thinking about Mike Kirby. He's in and out the office. You're going to have an answering machine sometimes because we're so busy. We're not on TV every day. Once again, I talk about metal roofs, commercial roofs, residential roofs, all the things that they've done in Hammond now. Look what they've done with Southeastern and all those facilities. And as we stretch Pride, we talked about them for the last couple of years. And this LSU baseball team gives those LSU fans a lot of pride. Jay Johnson does it the right way. He works just as hard as Mike and Alex. Once again, 855-PRIDE-16, 275-2041. If you don't get us directly, leave us a message in Baton Rouge. We will get back with you. And as you alluded to, concrete shingles, all of the greatest and the cutting edge stuff, Mike. They're always putting money back in to make it better. Give them opportunity, and let's hope, once again, knock on wood, we can get through with a little hail damage and all that and escape the hurricanes one more year, because house insurance in this state has gone absolutely bananas. So, Mike and they are there for you. Give them an opportunity, please.
Absolutely. All right. DA says, hopefully Clean can calm down at the plate because he has to be the fastest dude on the team. Good closing speed at center field. And what is Jay's strategy with all the lefties on the roster? Thanks.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Nate Yeski comes over from Texas A&M. Schlossnagle was not happy losing him. Of course, Wes Johnson got the opportunity to be the head coach over at Georgia. Look, we will spit it out now. Thatcher Hurd's going Friday at 2. Holman's going Saturday at 1. Sunday, you could get Justin Lohr, who was from Xavier, big 6'5" kid. Don't forget about Javen Coleman, Griffin Herring. Cade Anderson's an outstanding freshman that's going to throw. Nick Bronzini. I mean, that's 3 or 4 of the 5 lefties. Samuel Dutton, another righty. I mean, look, you know what's going to happen. Jay is going to give all these guys a lot of opportunity, an inning or 2. And the more control they show and the more they locate, not about strikeouts, it's about locating. And it takes a while with a new pitching coach and new pitchers. So give this team a month to 6 weeks to get it together.
Well, here's the thing.
Great depth.
You start Friday, and then in 3 weeks they head to Houston.
Yeah.
And I found out a day or 2 ago that they're going to be in Houston all week. They play Rice on a Wednesday before that Astros tournament, but they're going to arrive on Monday. So that's going to be interesting. I'm assuming they're going to be practicing at maybe some different high schools, which, that's like Kendall said earlier today, that you can book it. That's going to be a recruiting play. But they're going to be there all week. So Rice on a Wednesday night, a lot of LSU fans in the Houston area. We'll head to that one. And then Friday night, Texas primetime, 7:00. The Cajuns on Saturday night, 7:00 in primetime. And then Texas State, what is that, a mid-afternoon game on Sunday? So I imagine by the time that's over, they'll be glad to get home and sleep in their own bed, because they're going to be in Houston for a solid week.
Oh, by the way, let's not forget the hefty lefty. LSU doesn't win the Natty last year without Nate Ackenhausen, and he will see some innings this weekend as well.
Let's see. Chance Babin, how slowly do you think Jay is with Cam?
Cam Johnson?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's not throwing strikes right now.
Yeah.
6'5", 251. Where's number 55? Going to throw it up there anywhere from 97 to 100. But once again, got to locate. I think it might take Cam Johnson a couple, 3 weeks to find his groove, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Cam Johnson. Matt McMahon and the men's basketball team. What are your thoughts on what's coming up and what's happened and where this is heading?
Well, look, let's give them credit to start before we get into the constructive criticism, and that being that they were down 20. And everybody expects them to get their butt kicked at Florida. Florida had just steamrolled Auburn, who's one of the better teams in the conference. They got down 20 and they made a comeback, and they did not quit. So I'm going to give him credit for that. I'll also give him credit for this. The most important thing a coach has is playing time. And sometimes your players need to be sent a message. And he sent a message to Jalen Cook and said, if you're going to play me ball, you're going to sit by me for a while. And he did not start Jalen Cook and Trey Hannibal, who's a bat out of hell. Somebody said, do you think Trey Hannibal could play running back in the spring? He's built like a football player, but he's done a better job of getting in a flow. They've had more chemistry. Will Baker and, of course, the other big fella have their moments. But, look, it is what it is. You got to have better coaches and better players. And right now, LSU's probably going to win six games in the conference. And we get to this question at the end of the year. How long a rope does he have before he gets clipped? And you and I have discussed it on all the shows. He's a super nice guy with a super nice family, but he's getting paid a lot of money. And this is big time athletics. I think he's got 2 years. You think that you said last time maybe he could get clipped after this year if it goes down?
I don't think it's this year. I think
2 more years for him.
I think he's got. Look, he's got to show he's got to have some improvement next year. He's got to bring in a decent recruiting class. There's got to be some improvement. Don't forget Oklahoma and Texas arrive on the schedule. And look, that's going to be for a lot of sports where that changes the dynamic and how tough things are. And so I think what makes it one more year is how poor the attendance is. That bottom line is going to catch up.
And let's throw in the other caveat here. You got to get sugar daddies who care about men's basketball to belly up and get better players in here, which means better recruiting, more money on the NIL, and as you alluded to, more fannies in the stands. And it's not as easy. We know that Admiral Will Wade came in here and did a fantastic job, but unfortunately it didn't work out because of the stuff behind the scenes. And so we'll see.
How do you create buzz going into a new season? Just think back to all the great recruits that have come through the LSU basketball program. That's what makes people look forward to the next upcoming season. Are you being competitive? Or do you have a top 10 player that you just signed? That's where the issue is, I think. But I don't think there's any doubt about his ability to coach a basketball team. I had a buddy of mine who's a Florida guy say, man, that coaching job he did the other night,
he did.
It was really impressed in that loss. He
made some adjustments. He's coaching better, and he's starting to tell some of these players, look, if you're going to play like that, you're going to sit. And I do think it helps the chemistry. But, Mike, he doesn't have the talent on a night-by-night basis. I would imagine there'll be double-digit underdog Saturday at Carolina 2:30.
John Sibley Butler, one of our favorites. Good luck to Tiger basketball. Too many half-court sets. Bless their hearts. Yeah. All right. Alumni Hall, folks. They are absolutely packed to the brim with LSU baseball gear. If you want T-shirts, they have the 2 for $38 special. And by the way, if you go in there into the store and you say TigerBait, they're going to give you 10% off your purchase for saying TigerBait when you go into the brick and mortar store, a beautiful store right there in Perkins Row. So best place to get all your LSU fan gear, Alumni Hall. Shop their store, Bluebonnet in Perkins Row, or shop online at alumnihall.com. They've got it all the new Nike gear. They've got all the new LSU jerseys. My favorite LSU baseball jersey has always been that gray one. They've got that one in stock now. They got the gold one. They got the youth jerseys. The youth jerseys right now is their number one seller. So whether you want the white pinstripe, the white, the purple, the gold, or the traditional gray, which is what they wore in the first national championship game.
Oh, yeah.
Which has always been my favorite. They've got them all. And discount code for all my friends and subscribers when you shop, code TigerBait, all together in caps, all one word, TigerBait, in store or online, you'll get 10% off. And thanks to them for being a sponsor with us each and every week.
And look, you and I travel that Bluebonnet Perkins intersect all the time. It's bottleneck. Go in there if you have 15, 20 minutes. Give yourself a chance to lounge, browse, and you will find something that everybody will certainly appeal to.
Barry Barbier, moral victories is pathetic in men's basketball. Stephen Young, no fan excitement for men's basketball, unlike baseball, football, and women's basketball. If that doesn't change soon, it will end for Matt McMahon. Look, I've seen Scott Woodward in the PMAC for multiple women's games this season. He sees the crowds. Then you see the crowds for gymnastic meets. Holy smokes. And then you look at the crowds for men's basketball, and you've seen the photos. The reported attendance is not the actual attendance, and that's a problem. That's a whole lot of Manda sausage po' boys that aren't being sold. That's a lot of beer that's not being sold, and all that stuff adds to the bottom line.
Tiger Shark would be well versed to talk in on this conversation. Look, I think Scott Woodward gave McMahon an 8-year deal. Next time you talk to Shark, ask him about when you cut these things, if it's after this year or if he gets 2 more years. How is that negotiated on the buyout? And because, before you fire Matt McMahon, you got to make sure you're going to have, look, you can't afford to miss on the next coach. And then, of course, as always, you want to make it more money friendly.
Here's the thing with Coach McMahon is it's one of those deals where, like, he can coach. What might he do if he had the talent?
But that's part of his job is recruiting.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You got to entice the sugar daddies to say, hey, I need 500 or $1 million or whatever to go get this guy. And as we know, there are baseball sugar daddies and there are women basketball sugar daddies and football sugar daddies. And I'm talking about, obviously, all these collectives. But I think that's the key. He's got to get better in the transfer portal and recruiting.
Fire 3449, it says, Mike, LSU plays 9 teams in baseball from Louisiana, but not Tulane. Any reason for that? You heard anything?
I don't know.
I'll ask him. It might just be where it didn't work out. It might have been there was a date problem. I don't think there's any issues at all with him and Tulane. In fact, I know he was down in New Orleans a week or 2 ago doing a round robin with all the New Orleans coaches, and they all looked like they were long lost best friends. So I think it must have just been a quirk on the schedule. I don't think there's any issues there. So do you like Jay's reasoning for putting this game at 2:00 tomorrow? And have you talked to any of your callers upset about it?
Yeah, I've talked to 15 to 20 season ticket holders that aren't happy. By the way, the first game of the year, if you are a practicing Catholic, you can't eat meat tomorrow. You're not supposed to eat meat tomorrow. And so tailgating is going to be probably curtailed a little bit until Saturday. But I think the mindset is that, in February, it's colder, and so he wants to have those guys pitch in warmer weather. And he talked about some temperatures. And B, as we know, when rain comes in, it generally has a tendency to come in 5 or 6 versus 1 or 2. But I think that's the reasoning, and I think he can do it coming off a national championship. Now, if he was Matt McMahon and fighting for his life and his longevity at LSU, there would be some serious repercussions for him scheduling games at 2. But right now, Coach Johnson's the reigning national championship coach, and he wants to do what's best for the program. And sometimes the fans have to understand that.
I'll tell you what, anything else you want to add? I think we're pretty much, I think everybody's waiting for baseball, and I think we've covered just about everything tonight. We might end it early unless you guys have some more comments.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Bill Franquez. Obviously, we've all been doing business out at LSU with media relations, and Billy Franquez has just done a fantastic job.
He's awesome.
Always, as I've told the story before, but one year I said, Bill, I want to do a show at the box, and my show was like 12 to 2 at the time. And he said, all right, we'll set it up and hook it up and all that. This is years ago. And it was freaking 32 degrees when I was doing the show. And I said, oh, Bill, I'll never do this again. But look, the box is sometimes called the ice box. And off that river with that wind, it is appreciably colder than maybe
it was really bad at the old one because there was no real true press box.
But it is great because I think what Jay Johnson has done is once again reestablished LSU as a top 1, 2, or 3 program. And in light of all the great programs in the SEC, oh, by the way, 2023 is up on the Intimidator. So now you have 7 natty balls up there. And But anyway, back to Billy. He just does a fantastic job of coordinate that. I know Grant gets a great shout out on the job he does, and all the people out there at LSU, because you people have an insatiable appetite for player interviews or coaches interviews or film or footage or whatever, and they make our jobs a little bit easier. So, and also, of course, Billy, along with myself, Tommy Moffitt, and others, we've all been down that same highway of battling prostate cancer. So we hope that he continues to do well. And if there's any kind of cancer that a man doesn't, you hate to ever hear it, the doctors say you got to see word, but the prostate cancer certainly is best. And we've all been there. And Billy, just a fantastic guy.
Yep. He does a great job. He's got a great staff as well. And a lot of great people in LSU sports information. Fire 3449, Mike from Matt McMahon. Can he get LSU's biggest name, Shaq, to help in recruiting?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. What Shaq thinks about.
I think Shaq does a lot of more things behind the scenes than you know about, that he doesn't either want it publicized. I think he absolutely does. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a problem. But once again, look, I think the guys, you got to get some size, you got to get some scoring ability, and as we know, guard play. I'll ask you real quick. She did not give her hand, but do you think we see more of Poe at point and Haley at 2? Or
I think so. And man, I really like the way they looked when they pressed in that third quarter. That might be the best quarter they've had all year. So
great adjustments at halftime.
But
by the way,
but I asked that question today. I said, as good as y'all looked in that third quarter, might be the best all year. Do you have to, guard against, because you're playing so few players, about, having enough in the tank for the end of the game? And she really took my question and ran with it. And I think I asked a good one, because she said, yeah, we were there. Like I asked them. And if they get some quick layups, which it can happen, that's usually when she calls it off. But yeah, that is something she has to fight against. But it sure is effective, because I think it makes Haley Van Lith really look like what everybody thought she would be when she's at the 2 and Poe's at the point.
Caitlin Clark, by the way, about an hour ago, did break the record for points with the NCAA women's record. And, everybody had this conversation about Pete Maravich. To me, she reminds me more of a Steph Curry, just that ability to shoot it.
She's amazing.
And, of course, look, ratings, we have said this before, ratings. And, oh, by the way, real quick, I'll end up with this on my side. What was the talk about Angel Reese and possibly being this hurt last year? Because as you and I have talked about, she makes a ton of money on NIL and in college, and nobody watches the WNBA. So did she intimate she was going to leave, or
no? I mean,
come back.
I had a good long conversation today with another peer in about it while we were, after Mulkey had left. He tended to think that Haley would leave and not take the extra year. But the thing with Angel is, depending on where you get drafted and what that destination is, what is her stock in the WNBA? Does she have that same flair and impact there? And again, it depends on what franchise and what city she's in. That'll can have an effect. So I tend to think there's more money for her to be made at LSU. But then the other component that we don't talk about is school. Where is she at in school? How far is she from her degree? Does she like going to class? When you're making that kind of money, are you still being impressed upon to get that degree? Now, I'm sure Mulkey's not going to let Angel Reese get out of here without a degree. I can tell you that.
By the way, Amazon giving LSU $1 million to do an NIL documentary. And, of course, as you would figure, the heavyweights, Angel Reese, Flau'jae Johnson, Angel Reese, of course, Livy Dunn and Jaden Daniels are the 4. Now, they got extra money. This is what I believe NIL is all about. Not if you come to play for me at A&M or wherever, I'm going to give you $400,000 for your first, second, and third year. This is what I think name, image, and likeness is all about. And so that'll be interesting to see that coming out. But that's another feather in the cap at that LSU brand.
Spectrum Wellcare says most of this year's starters are leaving after this year.
And what sport?
Yeah, what sport? I don't think that's going to be in women's basketball. So yeah.
I don't know what sport he was talking about.
All right, guys. We're gonna have a little bit of an abbreviated show, but I think we got everything in tonight. Obviously, a big day tomorrow. We're gonna have more on our YouTube channel. And unless there's anything you want to add on the way out,
I like to predict the first home run and dinger of the year. I'm gonna let you go first.
I'm gonna go Tommy Tanks.
Tommy Tanks White. Look, boy, he looks good. I saw a little story on him showing somebody around the facilities, and it is unbelievable. Shoulder popped out 20 times last year, including on the dog pop. I'm going with Travinsky. He's wearing number 8 this year. He's one of the captains with Milazzo. He goes yard. I don't know if he'll be first. And
does it happen tomorrow or is it Saturday? Does it necessarily have to be tomorrow?
I think you're going to see some home runs tomorrow. So I'm going Travinsky, first home run of the year.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button on your way out. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. And go to TigerBait.com. Try us out for $1 for our premium content. I sent out a big newsletter today. Got a lot of nice discussion on our Tiger Den premium board. And you can go there and post your questions and start conversations. And we'll all jump in on it. So thanks for participating. See you guys on the other side and back here next week. Good night, everybody.